Again, it's persistent glaciers around the globe that show this.
Yeah, is it whether it's Greenland, Antarctica, the Alps,
Yes,
and the Himalayas?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Hello, I'm Hugh Ross, and I'm here with our visiting scholar at Reasons to Believe, Leslie Wickman. And Leslie, you're going to talk to us a little bit about climate change. I don't know about you, but on my social media, I got people all over the fence on that. Some of them claiming it's not real, some of them saying it's real.
Yeah.
I see them debating one another. They get angry with one another.
Right.
Can you shed some light on this?
Yeah, well, I think my experience is pretty similar. People are skeptical about climate change,
But they don't get angry with it. They're getting angry with me.
Yeah, I've seen some anger. People get heated about it. I think it's an emotional issue for a lot of people. And, when I first started researching the climate change impacts on national security with the aerospace industry, one of the first things I wanted to do is look at the evidence to see for myself, what does the evidence show? And I know we've talked about this a bit before, but one of the most convincing things for me was to look at the ice core data that goes back hundreds of thousands of years. And these ice core samples obviously are taken from permanent glaciers around the globe, and we see this very regular pattern for the last 800,000 years or so, where we have 90,000 years worth of severe ice, followed by temperate climate for about 10,000 years on average, followed by another 90,000 years worth of...
So what you're saying is that these deep ice cores are showing evidence that we're living in an ice age cycle.
Exactly.
Where the ice cycles from about 10 to 23% coverage.
Exactly, yeah.
And what ice cores are we talking about here?
Well, in permanent glaciers, so places like Greenland, Antarctica, persistent glaciers that have been around for these long periods of time. And the ones that I've seen, the longest, have gone about 800,000 years or so.
And we're talking about glaciers where we've got reliable annual layers. Where
exactly.
There's not melting going on in the wintertime.
Yes,
cold
exactly.
Enough where,
that's exactly right. So yeah, you can discern the winter and summer from those melting cycles during the summer, but it's essentially like counting rings in a tree.
Right.
Right. So you can see these annual cycles.
And it's not just Greenland.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's persistent glaciers around the globe that show this.
Yeah. Is it whether it's Greenland, Antarctica, the Alps,
yes,
and the Himalayas?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so for me, it was like, wow, you can look at this, and I think the impetus for me looking at that was many of these conversations where people would just say, oh, what we're experiencing now is just part of the natural cycles that the Earth goes through. And so I thought, I want to look at what those natural cycles are.
Right.
And so in looking at these deep ice core samples, you see this, as we've been talking about, this very regular pattern of 90,000 years worth of severe ice followed by 10,000 years on average of temperate climate.
Right.
And so if we look through that data, we see that now we're 12,000 some years into this temperate cycle, and if we're just relying on the natural cycles, we should be cooling.
Yes. Well, in fact, the natural cycles have been cooling the planet for the last 8,000 years. I mean, every time the Earth's rotation axis tilt goes down towards 24, that warms the planet. When it goes back up to 22, that cools the planet.
Right.
And it's going that way.
Yeah.
In the shape of Earth's orbit, when it's more elliptical, that warms the planet. When it's less elliptical, that cools the planet. And right now, we should be seeing fairly severe cooling because both of those natural cycles are working together to cool the planet.
Exactly. And that's another thing that I looked at was these Milankovitch cycles.
Right.
And the variations in the eccentricity of Earth's orbit.